Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Uninspired podcast. First off, we'll start by saying hashtag shame on you, Ashton.
Shame on you, Ashton.
Second, I'd like to introduce our special guest today. This week, it's Brendon. How's it going, Brendon?
Very well. Yourself?
Good. Hey, sorry. So pre-show, I kind of cut you off on a story. Would you like to continue?
Yeah. So just a little background. I asked Josh Scottney the much hated question. He's a month into having his real estate license, and so I asked the question: have you sold anything yet? Of course, he hates that question. All of his friends are asking. But just to make him feel a little better, I was telling him how I started off at the National Auto Outlet selling cars, and I think it was like 4 months in before, maybe even 5 months before I sold my first car. And once I started selling cars, it was kind of like a snowball, or well, it's like a sales pipeline really, because then I just started selling left, right, and center, and pretty soon I was in my game. But yeah, it took like 4 or 5 months before I sold my first one.
Yeah, it took David Agam, the guy I work under, the broker, when he first started at 20 or 21, it took him 7 months before he got his first sale. And it takes about 2 years in real estate if you survive the first year, because 50% of them don't even survive the first year. If you survive the first year, it takes about 2 years before you're making a good wage. Like we're talking 50,000, 60,000 a year. Unless you're one of the people that gets really lucky, or if you're on a really good team and you know a bunch of people, and unless you get some really decent people before you even start, it's kind of a challenge, and it's going to be a year-long process before I'm raking in the cash.
So is it 100% commission, or do they give you kind of a base?
100% commission, yeah.
Nice.
DP.
Nice, that's the way to go. That's probably the best kind of job out there, because you have the most opportunity, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's kind of a racket, for everyone else out there. But
how many houses average does your top realtor make at your firm?
Well, that's 2% average on the sale price of the house. So average price will sell for $300, which is probably going to change with the new mortgage rules that are coming into place. But average is about $6,000. But then you also take away the cut that the brokers get, your taxes and your GST and your other fines for paying to sell the place and other things like that. It could end up being more like 1%.
That was going to be my next question, but my actual question was, how many houses average does your
average?
top,
you need to
top
sell
realtor?
One amount. Or a top realtor?
No, how many houses does your top realtor sell?
Over 100, I believe.
Oh,
per month?
Per year, sorry.
Per year. Okay.
Like over 100 a year, some people are doing.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good, decent.
So what percentage of the commission does the actual realtor make?
Depends on what kind of split system they're doing. Some realtors do a 70-30 split when you're starting out, but or a 60-40 split, other ones will do, and then they can move you up slowly and do like an 80-20, so 80% commission would go to me and 20 would go to the brokerage, or others that are making over 100,000 a year are doing splits like 90-10, so 10% of that would go to the brokerage and 90% of that you would keep. But if you're listing a house, you're paying to get the photographer in, you're paying to measure it, you're paying a bunch of other advertising and things like that to get everything kind of set up and good to go. So it cuts away at the commission pretty quick. But
now I could definitely see here in the next, 2 to 5 years that virtual reality will play a huge part in realty.
Oh, we're already seeing that now.
Is that something that your firm is?
Yeah, actually, we have a photographer that will do a full 3D video kind of like the virtual reality thing, where you go on your phone and you can actually walk through the house by scrolling through it. Yeah. It's actually like you're walking through, and you can move the camera angle with your thumb. Right now, it would be a little more to get it like in a virtual
Google Street View style.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's actually a really cool way of viewing the property. If you have a massive house like that, it's a lot of fun to go around, and you can put little tags in it too. So what kind of flooring, what granite countertops, or what room it is, if it's an office or the laundry room, or.
Can you put labeling tags on each of your positions that you take pictures of?
Yep.
Like this is the living room, X number of square feet.
Yep.
these
Yeah,
features.
you could do
and
that too. What we find
Okay.
when people are going through the pictures is they don't want that much in the way. So they're like usually just little quick bulletins. So we're not going to do a bunch of numbers and a bunch of square footage because that's already listed everywhere.
Yeah.
We have the measurements and stuff like that.
Well,
And
my big thing when I'm looking through a house is it's like, so you get to the one room where it's like, okay, what room is this actually? Is this the family room or is this a bedroom? Like the picture doesn't.
yeah. And that's
Or-
why.
Or even worse, yeah, you're looking at the pictures and you're going like, what's the layout of this house? Is the back room like split from the rest of the house through the kitchen, or is it like, and you're just kind of trying to figure it out? Whereas if you had a 3D view, you could see all that pretty easy.
Oh yeah, you can basically walk through the house with your phone, right? And it's a really good, cool concept for actually a really decent price.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really like adding that as a feature
Like the cost of a 3D camera or a photographer?
for a photographer to do it.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty good. It's a lot. It makes it really nice.
It's about time realtors got onto something that really adds value, because Kijiji is it's quite a bit more convenient. Call the homeowner up, hey, can I come look at your house? It's like that afternoon you're doing a walkthrough with a realtor. It's like 3 days later sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and it also depends on the house if the people
First,
are
I
able
need
to.
you to sign a buyer's agreement so you don't have any freedom to do it in the house.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we get people to
and
do
then
that,
actually,
but
I want to show you these other 10 houses first, and it's like,
yeah,
And then-
some real estate agents will do that. Yeah, for sure.
And then
'cause they just wanna
here's
see
the
it.
classic one. Can we lowball them? No, that's impolite.
Oh, I don't do that at all.
or like, so, it's like, so,
Oh.
it's like you ask them how many square feet it is. It's like, well, let me look at the paper. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, yeah, I actually know what it is. And then you're like, yeah, how old is it? And you're thinking, like, I'm like 1950, right? And he's like, I don't know, I'll look at the paper. And then I'm like, yeah, so what are you here for anyway? Like, besides opening the door?
Yeah, that's
Insurance reasons, liability reasons, basically is what a lot of real estate agents are there for some of them. Personally, I get the best price for whoever I'm working with. Someone says, if anyone ever does sign a buyer agreement with me, I'm hunting the deal.
Shameless.
I don't care. I don't care if you want to ask 20 grand. I don't care if they say no. That's the thing. Like, if a professional real estate agent wants to get offended on a lowball offer and don't even feel like doing a counter offer, then, well, fine. Screw off then. We'll go find another house that's willing to talk. Because there's a lot on the market right now, and if they're able to buy, then why not, right? But
I'd pay a lot for a talking house.
Yeah. So, personally, I just think it's whoever I'm working for. Now, if I'm working with the seller, someone can lowball, and I'll just, someone lowballs me, and I'm selling a house. I'm gonna give them I'm gonna say this is the asking price. If you're going to lowball me, I'm going to stick with the asking price. I'm not even going to try and negotiate because that's not what I'm working for. I'm not working to get them a cheap, quick, get out of there as fast as they can kind of thing. I'm getting them the best money that they possibly can. Or I'm going to save them the most money I possibly can because that's my job.
So I can say a lot of hurtful things about real estate agents, but at the end of the day, if you want to get into real estate and make it big, you have to have a real good real estate agent on your team. So, I mean, there's a lot of value there still.
Yeah, there's just so many of us. And there's also a lot of real estate agents that do it as like a retirement job for fun. And they sell one of their other buddies that just retired and looking to downgrade. They do a couple buddies a year and they call it good, have enough to pay for like their fees of being a real estate agent, and they're just there for whatever. So.
Okay, so Josh, earlier you mentioned something about the mortgage rules changing. What's going on with that? Because I'm looking to buy, right? So
yeah, a lot of them just changed recently, and it's basically I can't do too much because we're waiting for some more confirmation on a few more things and trying to find the best way to word it. But it's basically changing it so it's taking a third of what you could potentially buy, and it's taking whatever you could potentially buy and basically cutting it down by like 36%. So if you were approved, say if I was approved yesterday for a $300,000 house, by January 1st, I'm only approved for a $200,000 house. And what they're trying to do is a preemptive strike because right now interest rates are really low. They're like 2-3%. roughly in that area, and they're really low, and they're not going to stay there. So they're not going to because some people are going to go, oh, this is what I can't afford, a $350,000 house. I'm going to max that out and get a $350,000 house.
Yeah.
And then they realize 5 years down the road, when interest rates go up to 6%, 5% in 10 years or something like that, they're no longer able to afford it.
Yeah.
So they're trying to cut that back so people can still be living in the houses when the interest rates go up.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's kind of that. It's to protect them from making silly decisions. And so.
Interesting.
The government protecting you from yourself.
Yeah.
So
no, they're also trying to do it to like help deal. Like some of them are saying they're trying to do it to help deal with the with how Vancouver and Toronto and a bunch of the other bigger cities with their property going skyrocketing high and no one's able to get a house. And so they're trying to prevent that from happening here. So it's kind of changing the game a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about it. It just means, don't go pay for more than what you can afford.
Don't max it out. So for me, a buyer, like in real talk, if you get approved for $350,000, get a $250,000 house, basically. Just play it smart.
Yeah, but so it's gonna make it so you can't because they're doing a stress test now, which is at like 4.89% or something like that, which is constantly moving that you have to get approved for. And I think they're changing that now to like 6%.
Okay.
So it's kind of moving around, and they're putting a few more in place, and they're also they're increasing interest if you have 20% down in the house. They increase the interest.
So you're better off.
They're doing that already.
5% first home buyers.
They started doing that. Yeah, they started doing that a little while ago. But like they went from changing like the mortgage rules. They took a long time from going where you could get a 40-year term, 30 or 35, and then 25, and now it's like 25-year term. And they took a lot of time to kind of do with that. But with this, it's just like from last November to now January, huge drastic change of a lot of money that you used to be able to get. And you used to be able to get a much more expensive house, so it made the average of first home buyers in that $350,000 to $400,000 range for the average first time home buyer. Now it's going to be $250,000, $200,000 range.
Yeah.
So Scottney, what do you think the impact will be on the real estate market? And I'm talking, your $500,000 homes, your $300,000 homes, even your $100,000 homes, and I mean even your camper vans that some people live in.
It's hard to say right now. With the Lethbridge economy is pretty decent. It doesn't change that drastically where everybody's losing their jobs, everybody's going under, everybody's done. It doesn't change so drastically that we have a whole economic shift so bad as everyone else, it seems, with our housing market anyways.
And the beauty of it is that it's not a restriction on supply because of economic downturn. It's a restriction on supply because of increased regulation, which is the regulation is fair enough, right? I mean, it's like Stephen Poloz, governor, he wants to raise interest rates so that he has something in the bag for next time the economy goes down. Well, then now he can lower interest rates a little further. That's fair enough. There isn't any real economic ramifications, I would say, but there should be ramifications because the supply is now effectively come down on housing. Mm-hmm. So what kind of ramifications would you predict?
What I'm going to see is a lot of people buying and flipping now because they realize that even like new homes, though, they're really decent prices right now. And they're kind of getting rid of them pretty quick because a lot of subdivisions are growing pretty drastically. And they're able to do that. A lot of these big builders that are in Lethbridge are able to get rid of these houses for a very, very small profit because they have so many. Right. And so that's but that might shift. So now because someone can't buy that starter home at $350,000, that's a brand new home, they're going to go buy that $250,000 range, get a line of credit that's $20,000, $10,000, fix and flip it and get some equity into the house. Or a lot of people are going to keep renting for a few more years. So maybe even rental properties will go up too. So it's hard to say in that 5-10 year term because I haven't been in the business for that long to be able to predict it for that long. But I don't see it's a scary, oh no, I'm never going to be able to buy a home now kind of thing, because mortgage rates have been around 5% a while ago and stuff like that. Interest rates right now are really low. They're really low compared to what they have been. So I don't see it as a drastic, terrible thing, because you're not actually paying high interest right now. They're just preparing you for that 5-10 years where it does grow.
Yeah.
Right. So
if the housing market goes under a bit of a correction because of this, which we would expect it to, would it be wise to go into the flipping business when you buy a house? Let's say you buy a house at $150 with hopes of it turning into a $220,000 house with $50,000 in it, that kind of an idea. But in the meantime, it's dropped down to a $200,000 house, and all of your profit margins for flipping it are out the window.
Well, it's not the value of the house isn't going to go down. It's the amount of people able to buy a house.
Yeah.
Which is demand.
That reflects the value of the house.
Well, not
right?
It's because the average first home buyer is $350. So if you buy a house and say you pay $160, $170, somewhere like from $160 to $180, you put $20 to $30,000 into it, you're looking at just over $200, and maybe you sell it for and you can still list it for that $250, and then you're going to even have more people looking in that area for a nice house, because they were looking at $300,000 houses that were really nice, and now they're looking at $250, $260.
What you're saying
right?
is basically that the average purchase price of a home is going to go down.
Yeah, so if you can have a flip,
fixing and flipping is better because there's going to be more eligible buyers for like under 300,000.
yeah, and it's going to force them to look for that. It's going to force them to have to pay for something.
You just have to make sure that you buy. Or I should rephrase that. It's just more important now than ever that you buy right.
Yeah, absolutely. But also I think rental properties, people are going to have to stay renting for a longer period of time. So if you have a rental property, revenue property like Josh does, it makes it a lot nicer, because some people that are looking to save up and buy a house, they might have to wait one more year.
Yeah.
Right?
To get the house they want.
To get the house they want, right? Or maybe they got scared away because their mortgage broker was rude and said, oh, you're not going to be able to afford this, and then turn them away and don't really fight for them, right? And don't really give them a game plan for the next year. That's why, and with all these mortgage rules changing, that's why I'm really getting stoked about talking with a mortgage specialist that kind of has an office space in the same building as us. I'm talking with her, and we're going to actually go start talking to like high schools and colleges and kind of explain some of this stuff, explain credit and how to build it properly, and so that they have a good credit score when they do decide to go buy a house. And also I'm talking to people, like whenever someone's talking to me about they're not looking to buy this year, but in maybe a year or two down the road, I'm just like, perfect, let's get a game plan for you financially so we can get this going, so that when you are ready to buy, you are fully comfortable in doing so, and you understand the entire process, and you're ready to go.
Question for you. As a realtor, what is kind of your scope of responsibility? I mean, like, obviously you show houses, you research houses, you have your list of customers and what they want, but would you go as far as to 2 years in advance give them financial advice?
Yeah, I would. If I have someone who wants to buy a house in 2 years, I'm like, perfect. I have a mortgage specialist in the office. We'll meet with her, and I'll send you an email once a month to see how you're doing and make sure you're keeping up with the game plan that we set in place. It's very easy for me to send out an email once a month. In 2 years, that's 24 emails. That's not that much of effort.
Give them advice on stocks and mutual funds and, whatever.
Well, no, not really. Just kind of more like a game plan on like saving their money into proper spending, and like credit cards. A lot of people don't understand that, and like kind of explain a few more things on the interest. And I'm kind of starting to research that stuff a little bit more now, because I'm not an expert in that. I'm good with people, not really with numbers. So that's why I'm wanting people to meet with a mortgage specialist now. I want people to start talking to like lawyers right now and just educate them, because I plan on being in real estate for a long time. Yeah. So if I'm doing stuff to help me in the next 3 years with the client base, yeah, it's investment in my future. So I don't understand why real estate agents go, I don't like dealing with first home buyers. They don't know anything. I'm like, that's part of a job as a real estate agent, is to educate and to keep them informed.
So you said that most people don't know how credit cards work. How do they?
Interest, really. I haven't researched it enough to go basic numbers.
swipe your
You
card,
swipe,
and then
Yeah.
then you
four
pay
to
it.
6 or 8. I think some people even use.
And then you're in 8
8
grand of debt.
numbers.
Yeah.
What?
Well,
And you're under crushing debt for years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I sense a lot of
They're great.
sarcasm
They're great.
from the guys up there.
yeah.
Hopefully
I don't know where I'm located on you.
Yeah, I'm a
Dude, you're pointing at the
You get
ceiling, man.
the guy located one side over here.
Are you talking to me?
Whatever. I'm sensing a lot of sarcasm from wherever. But how do credit cards actually work? Because I was talking to somebody here a couple years ago once I was thinking about getting one, and they said that all credit cards charge 20% interest compounded monthly, and the 20% is monthly.
I think it's around that.
20%.
I don't think it's 20%.
That's what they said.
You were thinking of getting one a couple years ago. Oh my goodness.
No, it just got me real curious though. And Josh said most people don't know how credit cards work, and it was, maybe an explanation would be in order.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. Like I said,
if I don't hear it from you, I'm gonna go to Justin Trudeau and ask him.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't know.
He doesn't fully understand that. Anyways. No, it's still stuff that I'm trying to research because I'm not good with numbers. I'm not good with this stuff. I never really paid attention or gave a shit when my dad was telling me about it.
See,
all I do is
I think credit cards are freaking easy. Credit cards are not complicated. If you spend money on a credit card, pay it back with real money right away. You're good to go.
You know what?
Build your credit. That's all they're for, is building your credit.
People tell me
that's
that
all they should be for.
If I wanted to loan cash for long term to get like a line of credit or something like that, and I said, why would I do that when I got these credit cards? They're perfectly good for that. You just rack it up on there, and I mean, 18.99% a month ain't that bad.
Oh yeah, that's livable. We can do that.
Sorry, a year. But yeah. Sorry, Brendon, did you say someone told you 20% compounded monthly?
Yeah.
What?
No, it is
so screwed.
No, so it is compounded monthly, but the 20% part, that's yearly. Yeah. I couldn't convince them. It was like
they actually thought it was like 20% a month.
Yeah. There's nothing I could say. It was like, okay.
Like for a minute there, I thought you might have been serious. I'm like, I didn't know how to take that. Bad? Yeah. What's wrong with you? I've known people that pay 20% interest on when they buy a car because they're so messed up. They just let themselves get rolled over and penetrated in areas they don't want to be penetrated in. So.
Let's just say if I get a call from an unknown number, I just don't pick up because it might be the credit card company.
Just burner phones are great.
Exactly. You need to just pick a new way to operate after the fact. But I mean, I've enjoyed all those ATVs and lifted trucks and stuff. It was really quite worth it.
Hey, so have you guys ever tried sensory deprivation tanks?
No. Where would I try that?
That is?
Where would we have that?
Lethbridge. I just did it today.
There's
no way.
Yeah, it was sick.
What?
Deprives you of oxygen.
Yeah, it's like, so you go in there and someone chokes you the frick out.
This is great. I can't believe
it. Just spend the rest of the time floating. No, but it's like a little bath enclosure thing with like really high concentration of salt water, so you float, and then it's also soundproof and it's dark in there, so you essentially just float in nothingness. And the water is the same temperature as your body, so you can't tell where the line between the water and your body is. Like you're just floating there.
That's trippy.
How big is this water? Like, how big is this body of water? Can you feel the sides around you? Or?
Well, I can because I'm pretty tall, but like you can. I just had maybe like 3 inches on either side, so like if I didn't drift, I'd be right in the middle, and then it would work.
Huh.
Right. So
what do you think about?
Where do you do this? How much does it cost? What's the company called?
Like $40.
Are we getting paid to advertise them?
No, but we should be. No, it was like
25 cents.
It was like $40 because I'm a member of the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, so it was like a little bit cheaper. But otherwise, no, sorry, it was $50. Otherwise, it's $60 for 90 minutes.
Really? Huh.
Wait,
You're a
in
member
for an hour
of the chamber?
Yeah.
You're a big wig, man.
Yeah, you bet.
It's so important.
I just had a little adrenaline rush.
It's just, I don't even know what it's called, but if you Google it, it'll show up. And it's just in Lethbridge, like right in that kind of in the Auto Mall area there.
Oh, yeah.
But really interesting. I mean, it took me a while to relax because I don't, like, my mind is always just, so it was kind of hard to peel that.
But you did?
Yeah, I did.
But you did?
I felt like it was finally in the last, like, 10 minutes,
How long were you in there?
90 minutes.
How did
you stay still for 90 minutes? How did you...
Josh, you don't sit still. You don't sit. You shake your leg at all times.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't constantly hear us stomp whenever we're on the podcast. It's a surprise.
I just felt that on the floor.
Yeah. No, I you know, it's kind of like trying to meditate. It's hard, but...
I was just going to say, yeah. So do you focus on like a certain body part and you're like, okay, once I get out of here, the crick in my knee is going to be healed one way or the other, and you just focus on that?
Not really, but I did try some breathing exercises while I was in there. And that was
like
really
what?
Weird. Well, like what I was doing with Brendon the other day, like you take a whole bunch of really deep breaths.
Yeah.
It gets like oxygen in your lungs and your blood and fills it all up, and then you hold your breath for a really long time. So you'll do like 30 deep inhales and exhales, like that type of thing, and then you'll hold your breath and just.
I kind of showed you my yoga techniques and confidence there.
Aw, take for a yoga man.
He is not. That was sarcasm. He's a sarcasm.
I know.
I did that when I was in there, and yeah, that was really neat because you're floating in nothingness, and then when you do that, it shoots like tons of oxygen to your brain, and then you just literally don't breathe for probably in that scenario. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a minute and a half, right?
Yeah, that's like it's hyperventilating, right? Kind of what you do, or not hyperventilating.
Yes, yeah, that would
divers do it.
That would probably be the correct term.
The opposite.
It sounds bad, hyperventilating, but
yeah. So you breathe in as deep as you can.
Yeah.
And then when you're exhaling, then you restrict your airflow just slightly. Yeah. And exhale all the way, and then breathe in. You just try to do that repetition, like relatively moderately fast. And then once you've done 30, then you take one deep breath, but you hold it for like 10 seconds, and then you exhale, still restricted, and then with your lungs completely exhaled, then you hold your breath, you close your eyes, and then you just feel the oxygen flowing through your body, and then that's the time when you're supposed to like sit there and focus on your knee or
new age shit,
when you push.
Huh.
Yeah. No, it's a good feeling though. Like, I mean, that was the last time I did it was with you, but
you hold your breath on the exhale, like you exhale all the way.
Yeah, on the exhale, but. Yeah,
so you don't take a big breath before you hold your breath.
No, you take a big breath and then you blow it out and then you just stay there.
And then you don't inhale again.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then that was like just really trippy because you're just floating, like, and then you have all that happening too, and it's just like, I don't know. It was really good. It was really relaxing. Like I definitely came out of there like
crazy.
But I don't know. Like it's supposed to be really introspective, and apparently, like the first time is never really as good, and it can take a couple times, like till you kind of get used to getting yourself in that.
That's what I would say too if I was starting that company.
The guy there didn't tell me that. Like this is what I read online.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Internet never lies.
Yeah.
So what's it cost?
Urban Dictionary.
$60, I think, is the cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So or
90 minutes.
Or you could do it monthly, and it's like $50 a month for one time, and then each additional time is like $40.
How many times do you get to go in a month?
Once.
All right. Well, there's our 3-minute promo. So back to real estate investing, guys. How about that?
But You guys should try it out, though. It's pretty good. The whole
Yeah.
time I was
Is
just
it?
thinking what it would be like on drugs, though. I was like, I got it.
Oh, I would.
You're just
Oh
thinking, like,
man.
I don't know, like just something.
Just
because-
Trap was strictly my thoughts for
Like-
an hour and a half with.
But
like-
then I read online, and apparently people that did it with like LSD and stuff, and it was just awful because they were on the worst trips ever. But
Yeah, I bet.
but either way, no,
He's
you
really messed up.
Well, if I had to choose between that and a rock concert, I'd choose that. On LSD.
But no, you should really give it a try.
Wait, both
though.
rock concert and this was on LSD or just?
Like if I was forced to be on LSD, I would prefer to do it in that environment than a rock concert, I think.
Yeah, fair
I think-
enough. That makes sense.
I'd prefer a rock concert.
Yeah, rock concerts are happier than my mind.
Yeah. You feel
Well, you just get it.
because everyone else is on it too.
You just get to explore the universe and like just kind of swoop in and check out the planets and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, just take a gander out into space, like just kind of pick some of the stars out of the sky and change up the constellations a bit.
LSD is not that chill.
Just really screw shit up.
No, but Brendon, I think you'd like it. You should try it. Like, I mean, you're just floating.
LSD?
Like, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like the water's only 10 inches.
You gotta try this
The
shit.
water's only 10 inches deep, and you're just floating. Like you don't touch. Like that's how much salt is in there. Like you're just weightless, and it's so relaxing on your muscles because it's very like anti-gravity or whatever. But
Yeah,
I thought Josh was gonna be the next Timothy Leary.
what?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, never mind. Well,
I want to know who he is now. Yeah.
Okay. 1960s Harvard professor. He basically got completely discredited because he went out on stage and said that everybody needs to try LSD.
Oh, I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was using it
did
for
scientific experiments with LSD.
Yeah. So, but then after that, the government just went hardcore. Like that's when the war on drugs started, and you know everything, right down to mushrooms and everything, like weed. Everything became illegal, and then you had your whole hippie movement and everything. The whole hippie movement, I think, was basically just, well, the drug part of it, anyways, was in part to do with Timothy Leary. He kind of started a movement there, right?
It's like everyone.
I feel like-
try this.
The hippie movement would have been a lot better if they had like maybe businessmen and marketing strategy people to actually that stayed sober and help them do their movement instead of a bunch of guys getting high in a van and then everybody walking into a park and protesting. Like if you had that many
Come on,
people,
man. They had
you should be able to
people
get
on their
something done.
side.
Well, you had the
You're
Vietnam
talking-
War
you're
and
talking
everything.
like an organized
Like
hippie
Bob
movement.
Marley out there,
Yeah.
you know, he's
You have that many people, like a few 100,000
Snoop.
people, you could change some things if you're all organized properly.
But now you have people like that are just
Yeah.
really putting it out there, like Joe Rogan, like saying, yeah, everyone needs
Oh,
to
yeah,
try
now
this
it is.
shit, bro.
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan is.
Justin Trudeau.
What?
Justin
is-
Trudeau's encouraging people to do drugs.
Well, he's legalizing weed, which I mean,
It's basically
can
the
open-
same thing.
we can open up the conversation if you want.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that's like the only reason why they voted him in. Well, I think enough people that's why he got voted in.
Really? You think that made the difference?
I wouldn't be surprised.
It would have definitely helped. Yes.
Like you just go to like a random construction site in Alberta, and Albertans don't vote liberal, like period. But there were so many people who it's like you bring up Justin Trudeau, and all they can think about is how he's going to legalize weed, and they're so excited.
Yeah.
And yeah, they definitely voted for him.
Yep.
So yeah, it kind of makes me think that was a pretty big part.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh yeah.
And then Harper was just so hard on drugs, like weed. Like I heard him do a speech on weed once, and it was like just the most.
He was high?
He did a speech on weed.
Yeah.
He actually looks
On
high.
weed drugs?
That makes a lot of sense.
Man, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah. Well, about weed,
Oh. That's
and
interesting.
yeah, he's pretty tough on it. So he's not very popular.
Listen up, Harper, man. Come on, bro.
He's not very popular with the
With the
Dave
out there.
Dave Youngerton. I just assume because you live in a van.
I loved Harper. No, not at all. I actually really liked Harper.
I just assume that you like Harper because you lived in a van.
That doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. No, I thought you were assuming. Yeah, that's total profiling. I thought you said that you assumed that I was a fan of Trudeau because I live in a van.
That's what he was.
No, I was actually saying.
You just said Harper.
I was just saying weed.
Oh yeah, that's a fair assumption, but no.
My logic behind that, I mean, it's not.
It's very solid. Very solid.
Not completely foundless, because if you're living in a van, you don't have internet except on your phone. What is there to do, right? I mean, you just sit there and smoke weed.
Living in a van is like exactly like living in a house, just smaller. Literally exactly the same.
Yeah, but let's open no internet. What do?
Let's open this up because I've been super curious. Okay, not only with how you might fill your time differently living in a van, but also the effect, and some specifics on the effect of how it helps you out financially.
Okay, yeah, fire away.
So,
what do you want to know? I'm an open book.
Well, I want to know what it is that you feel that you do differently with your time. How do you spend your time differently living in a van?
I would say that because there's a small space, I can't hang out in it for too long. So it forces me to get out and do shit in the world instead of. There's a lot of people nowadays that spend a lot of time indoors playing video games and watching TV, and like it's pretty comfortable to sit on a really nice couch and do that for hours on end. But for me, it's not. So it forces me to get out and do stuff. And because I live in a van and I'm forced to live simply, I have money to go out and do those things. So people may look at the van life and think, oh, this guy has a lot of money because he doesn't have a lot of cost. But the truth is I spend probably a lot more money doing things than a lot of other people do.
I would say most people seem to be the opposite. Like, hey, that guy lives in a $400,000 house. He must have a lot of money. Well, no, he's just mortgaged up to the teeth, right?
Yeah, well, no, you're totally right. Most people don't think in that way. You and I do, and probably we all think that way, right? But most people look at people with nice things and they're like, oh, that guy has money. Like, I was actually talking about this the other day with a guy at work. I was like, he saw this like really attractive girl in like a lifted up like Dodge Cummins, whatever. He's like, oh, like that's hot or whatnot. And I looked at it, I was like, that's just like huge turnoff for me. I'm like, sweet, you come with $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 worth of debt, right? And then she had a big sticker over the top that said "never satisfied." It's like, I don't know.
What? How is that
not attractive to me? But yeah,
it's probably comforting to know that when she looked down at you in the van, that it wasn't very attractive to her either.
Nope, probably not at all. No, she's like sitting up there in the truck. She's like never satisfied, and I'm like living in a van, and I'm super satisfied.
Dave's like #always satisfied.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's that age-old argument that people are always like, oh, they always think that someone who has a nicer truck has money. And it's like, no. Yeah. Unless I know those people and I know they're successful, and then still they're probably going to drive a more average truck. But I would venture to say almost anybody who has like a real like jacked up, crazy lifted truck has like no money.
Yeah. Everyone I know who has really expensive trucks, not everyone, that's a blanket statement, but most people I know who have expensive trucks are really shitty with their money. Mm-hmm. Like they're bad.
Well, it's because it's a lot of money to spend on a vehicle, right?
It is ridiculous. And something that depreciates so quickly is just, it's mind-blowing to me that people do it year after year and they never learn.
And you know? Especially because they don't need it. Like, if you use a truck for
nobody
work,
needs
fine,
it.
But
yeah.
I mean, even a new car versus a new truck, like, insane difference. Right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Difference in price, difference in cost to drive, difference in everything.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know. I just don't get it. People are
So on the financial end, I mean, there's obviously there's certain financial savings. There's the rent, utilities, internet bill, on and on. What kind of expenses do you look at? Like an increased an increased fuel cost. I'm sure for at least a while you were paying off the van, and there's going to be replacement costs to a point, right? Filling up your propane tank in your van every so often.
Yeah.
How does that compare? Like what would be your kind of, if you were to calculate it the same as you would a house, what would be your monthly burn rate in that vehicle?
So it's very hard to calculate in like a super accurate way, as I'm sure it is for most people, because you have different costs every month. But on like if I was to scrape by in a month, I could scrape by on $500 to $600.
Just living?
Like
not
living
food or
no, food included, and a little bit of fuel in there, right? But if I'm traveling, like if I'm driving around and stuff, then yeah, that price skyrockets, and all of a sudden I'm paying hundreds of dollars a month in fuel.
I think what Brendon's asking is not your cost of living, but your cost of living versus a house. So like what you'd pay in a house, like utilities, rent, or whatever, and what you pay in your van. So nothing to do with food and anything besides your basic like living. You know what I mean?
Per van.
Yeah.
So like.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you're looking for like what would the average person spend a month in rent? Like in our area, at least 800, 900?
6 to 800.
6? If you find
around
something for
8 is
give me a call.
6.
Yeah, no shit, that's really good.
Well, if you get a bunch of roommates, yeah, a lot of people can do it for 6.
Yeah,
you get a basement with 2 rooms.
I'd say average. We'll say 800 basement suite. That's probably what you get.
Yeah.
So, I'm just curious. Like, what would you pay on your van in a month and expenses?
Yeah, propane is really everything. Like, if you count in my fuel,
and then a fraction of fuel, possibly, or not even.
Yeah, because you're gonna do more driving because you're living in a van, right?
Less driving.
Yeah, but I do less driving because I live in a van.
You sleeps beside work.
Yeah, the only time I ever spend fuel is on the weekends when I'll drive like 4, 5, 6 hours to go to Banff or something. And then it starts sucking up the fuel. But everything is so accessible. I park wherever I want. I only drive, I don't drive that much because everything's right there. Every time I need something, I don't have to drive home to get it. It's right with me. Like my drive time is next to nothing compared to most. I have no morning commute.
You're looking at like $50 a month plus whatever payments on living in a van. Payments on the loan would be.
Yeah, which it's like $200, but like that's almost done. So it almost doesn't even count, right? Yeah. Like it still counts, I guess, but it's so close to being done. It's whatever, and it doesn't even compare to rent, right?
Yeah.
And here's the biggest thing, or not the biggest, but one of the biggest things in my mind is when you're paying rent, you're getting nothing in return. All you're getting is a place to eat and sleep and a place to call home, right? I have a place to eat and sleep, and I call it home, as weird as that sounds. It is my home, and I get something in return. So even when I'm paying off that loan, I still have the value of that van. I'm actually getting something from my money. I'm not just flushing it down the toilet, you know?
And it's not like the depreciation of the van matches your mortgage or your...
Not at all. In fact,
loan payment.
A big reason why I chose the Volkswagen van again is because it actually tends to appreciate in value because it's an older VW, right? It's more of a class. Well, it's vintage. I don't know which one it actually falls into, but yeah. It's older and they're
What year
becoming... Is it? It's an 87. So it's actually really nice because it's a water-cooled and fuel-injected. So 2 years prior was air-cooled and carbureted still. So it's like a nice it's a nice balance of new and old together. And it still has that kind of that Volkswagen nostalgia that a lot of people like, right?
Yeah.
And it has that kind of that hippie vibe to it for sure, right? But yeah, I don't know.
Bring me back, Dave, because I don't even remember this. But what kind of stage were you at in life when you bought that van? Like you were renting at the time.
Yeah, I was on. Like people ask me actually how I decided to do van life or whatever, right? And I've read a lot of other people's stories about like they live in vans too, and you read it, and they did like a lot of planning and research, and it wasn't like that for me. I had saw a bunch of people doing it on Instagram, and I was driving home from work one day. I drove past a lot, and I saw it sitting there. This is like my favorite color, and I've always kind of wanted one. I went in, I looked at it. The next day, I went back, test drove it, and bought it that same day. And then a week later, I moved in. So it wasn't planned at all. I just saw it and I was like, I want that vehicle. And then because I had seen all this stuff on Instagram, I was like, I can totally do this. I can sleep anywhere. Like I can sleep through loud noises. Like I'm dead when I sleep, and I can sleep on any surface. So like, I'm not a very picky person when it comes to being comfortable. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of planning. I just kind of did it, you know?
Speaking of being comfortable, I just bought new sheets. Top notch, man. Anyway.
No, it's like a 500 thread count or what?
No, only 400. I'm kind of a peasant. I bought them out.
That's okay. I don't even have
like that crisp, like whew. See, I don't use them. Like I don't use the top sheet. I just throw that away. And
oh yeah, dude. I used to do that too. Before when I had
like the mattress cover and then the pillowcases.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that you're able to save, like put away all of the money that you're saving, or at least a good percentage of it, or is it going into entertainment and recreation?
I do more, but because I live in a van, it's really forced me to live a minimalistic lifestyle. So yes, I may spend more money on doing things like activities, but when it comes to like I don't have a big TV, I can't have a second vehicle. It doesn't really work. Like all the big toys that people want, I can't even really have. They wouldn't work. So I don't spend money on that kind of stuff, you know? So the stuff I buy high quality and long lasting, and then it's backed by usually like a good warranty. And that kind of goes through for everything I buy. I try and make sure that I'm buying really, really, really good product. And that just, the more you do that, the more you have awesome products that last, and the less you have to spend every year on those things that most people buy every year, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'm just generally content with what I have. Like even my cell phone's 2.5 years old, it's crapping out of me. I'm probably going to buy a new one on Amazon just because I like that cell phone. I don't really care about having the latest and greatest. It doesn't attract me.
Yeah.
But getting back to your question, yeah, because it forces me to live a simplistic lifestyle, it's very, very easy for me to save money now and still live a like fulfilled life. Like I'm not just like huddled in my van trying to like save money and hold on to my money. I'm out doing stuff at the same time as I'm saving money. And that's a big reason I did it.
The way I see it is if your expenses in a van are $250 a month versus your expenses in a house at the minimum $800 a month, that's like $550 that you could hypothetically spend on entertainment if you wanted to.
Exactly. I can spend on anything I want, and that happens, you know. It's very easy to save money when your costs are so low, right? Mm-hmm. So it's partially responsible for me being the most financially stable I've ever been in my life by like light years.
Yeah.
Because I can't spend money on useless stuff that I don't use.
Have you guys all read Set for Life by Scott Trench?
No, that was my next one on the list.
Is it?
I have not yet. No.
Yeah.
It's a gooder. So one of the big things that he goes into is a lot of budgeting gurus. They really talk about how you need to really cut out the entertainment and cut out your beer budget, and you're going out to eat and all of these things, and like that are really important to your life. But they don't really say anything about the fixed expenses, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your vehicle, your house, your food, right? Those things are really the things that make the biggest impact on your budget. So what the angle that he comes at, just forget about budgeting, and focus on just reducing those fixed expenses. Totally. and then just try to live a life where you every time you purchase something, you ask yourself, am I really getting the value
Exactly.
the value of enjoyment, or is this kind of diminishing returns in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it really makes me think about something like van living or tiny house living, or even living in a really, really cheap house.
Yep.
Which, by the way, that's something that I kind of subscribe to, but for different reasons. But I really think that it's cool. When do you think you're going to be done living in a van? Like, is there kind of an expiry date on that?
2 years.
From about right now?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years that I've lived in the van. In fact, I think it's been a little bit more. And I think 2 years max I'll be in it, maybe even just 1 year. I might start building my tiny home next summer. So that'll be my next step, is to move and build my own tiny home.
Okay, so your time limit is kind of set by the amount of money that you have to work with at the time, and what you project you may have to work with.
Well, it's also just kind of like anticipating like life. Like, I haven't met a girl, but I probably will, and she's probably not going to want to live in a van with me if you get married, and I probably wouldn't want to either, right? So like a tiny home is a much more feasible and realistic option, but you never know. And also, like, it's really hard to have a dog and stuff. Like, there's big sacrifices that you make when living in a van, right? Like, and I can make them now because I'm single and all I have to care about is me. But if I have another person to look after, it kind of though, right? Kind of, as a single person, you kind of get to be selfish, right? But if you have someone else to look after, you suddenly, like, that's your primary goal is to take care of them, and then you come second. I
wouldn't say what Dave's doing is selfish at all. I mean, you're just saving money for your future.
I was just being very sarcastic.
No. Yeah. No, you know what I'm saying though. Like, if you have another person, it changes things, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think just out of respect for my significant other, whenever that happens, I think it would just be a little nicer for them. Because me personally, I could probably live in a van for a very long time because I'm extremely easygoing, like way too easygoing sometimes. It causes trouble in my life sometimes.
So I assume you've done a little bit of research into tiny houses. What do you expect a tiny house to cost you by the time you're all said and done? Would you build it yourself?
Yeah, I would. Well, there's certain companies that will get you a frame and they'll build out. So like the exoskeleton kind of idea, then you get to do all like the kind of the fun stuff. I might do that, or I might just build it from the ground up. Because here's the thing about living in a tiny house. When you live in that tiny of a space, Josh, what are you doing?
What?
Your shoulder looks like shaking. Is she cold?
I have my elbow rested on my leg, and I wish.
Oh, there's the foot.
The leg shaking.
Yeah, it's the leg shaking.
Okay,
right?
so getting back to that question, how much is it going to cost me, and how am I going to build it? I'd say I've done a little bit of research into it, and you can build like really crazy ones for like 60 grand. That's way too much money for me. I don't need a crazy tiny home. And that's buying like the best of the best, like brand new stuff. And I actually don't like buying new stuff. I like buying old stuff and like reclaim stuff, because a lot of times it's cheaper. And yes, I'm a hipster. Fine. Call me a hipster. Whatever. Maybe I am. I totally am. But I like that. I like stuff with character and stuff. I'd rather have reclaimed stuff with like a story to it. I don't know. It gives it character.
What would be your budget?
About 30 grand is what I'm planning on putting into it right now at this point.
What about land though?
Land is something, people ask that question, in people's mind, it's such a hard thing to attain, but it really isn't.
No, I'm not saying it's a hard thing to attain, but whereabouts are you thinking of doing it here?
Right now, actually, I just came up with this kind of idea in my head recently. I want to have a spot where I can park semi-permanently in the Tofino, British Columbia area. And then I'll have a spot here around Lethbridge. So I'll spend winters in Tofino.
You would make it mobile then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not extremely mobile. Like something where it's a pain in the ass to move, but you can do it.
So you might have like a deck on it and stuff.
Yeah, I would totally have a deck. I would 100% have a deck on it. That would be a necessity for me.
Mm-hmm. But because it just seems
even
like
a flip
it'd be
down.
quite a pain to move
Yeah, a flip down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost would save you more, like,
Just
almost
have
be
two.
a little bit better. Yeah, just to have two.
I've
then
actually
you're
thought
looking
about
at-
that too. I'm definitely
And then
considering
you could
that.
Airbnb the shit out of the thing in
Yeah.
Victoria all summer.
Yeah, and you would make a killing,
And
bro.
those things are trendy enough that if you put it in the right location, it would be like cute, tiny
Yeah,
house.
you could sell, like, give it away, like,
I like this. Thank
Split
you.
the
New
profit.
plan.
Split
New
the profit
plan.
with the landowner.
$500 a week.
Yeah, there you go. Huh.
Shit,
That's a good
I'd
idea.
buy some land in Tofino and do that with you.
Yeah.
Oh, $500. Yeah, man. You can
I've actually
you can
thought
charge
about
some money.
doing this. I've actually thought about doing this in the Tofino area for van lifers and tiny homes. Just buying a small piece of property and renting it out for very, very cheap, but having a lot of. I haven't thought about it too much. It's just something that's like a trailer park for tiny home.
Yeah,
And
you kind of turned me off at very, very cheap.
Yeah.
There, but
Yeah. I
Well,
lost interest.
what I mean by very, very cheap.
what he means is OSB countertops. You know,
No. I
Cardboard.
would
he
build
meant
the
cheap
tiny home.
rent. I was
Just
just
the
making.
land.
I was just
Just the
making a
land.
tycoon joke.
Oh.
Okay.
oh,
Like you
No.
you gotta be taking every penny from him, Dave.
No, but like just
Okay,
the
Trump.
land is what I'm talking about, right? So you just have a place for them to park because places like Tofino are very, very hard to find a place. Well, it's next to impossible to own land in Tofino. Like
unless you have money.
Oh man, it's ridiculous in Tofino.
Is it expensive, like for bare
Oh.
land?
For bare land, it's like higher than Alberta, and then like a little bit higher than like say the Valley. But it's affordable, but small plots, right? Tiny little plots,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is all you
tiny
need
home.
for a tiny home.
Yeah. Well, like, for some of this bare land, what about utilities and stuff like that? Are you going to get power and things like that, or are you just going to use, like, generators and water tanks?
That's the beauty of a tiny home. If you want to, you can make it completely off grid, which is what I would do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just like a solar.
Solar panels and...
You don't need as much electricity as people think, like regular people use in their house, like not even close, right?
Yeah.
In a tiny home. And then everything's a little different. Like it just affects so many areas of your life. Like you own less clothes, so you can just wash them by hand if you really have to, right? But there's also really tiny washing machines and dryers that you can run off a solar system. And then you have bio toilets, which like sound gross, but are like absolutely one of the coolest inventions ever made.
They like compost it somehow. I've looked at them. Or are they the ones that burn it
so
or not?
cool.
Because there's burners.
There's so many different types of it, but it all basically it has a way of deconstructing the shit so that it doesn't stink, and then you just pull it out the side of your tiny home in like a controlled container. And you bring it and you dump it and you bring it back. And it's a really clean process. But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot more feasible than people think because most people don't know all the little things that you can use
So
to.
that means like no toilet
comfort
paper
food.
then, eh?
No, you use toilet paper. Yeah, it's still
Just
flashes.
biodegradable stuff.
Yeah.
Which probably all of it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It breaks
It's
down.
And then showers too, like you can pull it, like showers you can pull out of a stream if you really want to, or you can collect rainwater. There's lots of different ways to do things, right?
You
It'll
find
almost be
a-
worth
if
just
you can
getting
find
a water
shower in
tank.
stream,
Oh yeah, dude, I've done that so many times in the mountains. It's
just
one of
find
my
a
favorite things.
waterfall.
Oh, dude, it's the best. Even just a stream, just jump in and like freeze your nips off. But it's one of the best feelings ever. Like jumping in Cold Creek in the morning.
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome.
The polar dip.
Oh yeah. Like
Nope.
no.
Doesn't sound
So-
like it's for me.
Oh,
I'm not
I
a
love
camper.
that. It's so refreshing. It just like wakes you up like that. It's amazing.
So is this a lifelong plan for you to live in the van for 2 years, then the tiny house, and then kind of upgrade your tiny house and just kind of,
2 tiny houses, and then maybe one day 3 in different locations. And
for each new kid,
Yeah.
you just give them a new tiny house and
yeah, just leave the kid there. And
I'd say a
think-
shed would be more appropriate for each new kid.
oh, shed's too
That's
much.
actually
for that, though.
actually funny because
Or
I
a
actually lived in a
doghouse, like human-sized doghouse.
yeah.
Isn't that? tiny home.
Yeah,
What?
kind of.
No, I mean like the height of a doghouse, but as long as a human. So you just for sleeping.
They actually have those in Japan. They're like little capsules where you sleep in. They
See?
look like a dryer, and you crawl in and like.
Yeah, that's sketchy. But anyway, no, I like the whole tiny house idea. I'm not sure if I would do it, but I could see myself living in like a very small minimalist style apartment or something like that.
Yeah, that too is really interesting. Like the minimalist movement is pretty cool.
I would love like a studio apartment or something, you know, and just real bare bones and just, you know. But then that's the best part about owning small houses. Like I would rather own a small house. Like I would love to have something in Latin America. Have one house over there than one house here. I'd way rather have that than a bigger house here. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Absolutely.
So tiny houses and minimalism, would you guys say it's a fad? Mobile homes, that was pretty huge in the 70s and 80s, and then it's kind of dropped off.
They're still around. Were they actually
They're still around. They're still around, but they're really not as big. I mean, how often do you see a yo-yo anymore, right? But they're still around.
What? Oh.
Well, it's just another fad.
Yeah.
No, he has a point.
Fair enough. Like, but why were they big? Why were mobile homes big? Was it housing prices and stuff like that, or was it
like the size of the mobile home or the movement?
Like the movement.
Yeah.
So
trailer park, the movement. Hashtag the movement.
Yeah. So now you've kind of got this new, even reduced size movement going on.
No, I'm wondering in the 70s and 80s, why were mobile homes a thing more than they are now?
Well, what I think happened is you had all those hippies that were used to living in vans. They now needed bigger places to live.
They got kids, and now that was an upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of became the fad on top of the fad, and now their kids are starting the new fad, and or maybe it's their kids' starting the new fad. And well, if it is a fad, and that's my question.
I would
right?
venture to say that someone who grew up in a mobile home would probably never do it again because it seems like.
A mobile home's too big. A mobile home's big enough that you still look at it and you're like, I want a house.
Yeah,
a tiny home.
Trash.
A tiny home comes with a lifestyle, and you have to be a really different thinker to be able to live in a tiny home. Like your whole life changes. It's not just I live in a small place anymore. It affects everything you do. Like even like
mobility.
But even stuff like what I was talking about, like buying products. So many people just buy what looks the best to them when it comes to like clothes or technology. They always buy the newest thing. Nobody looks at like this phone, how long statistically has it lasted, right? Like a lot of Androids are terrible for lasting, right? Well, I've done research on my phone, and for some reason, the Galaxy Note 4s tend to last forever. And I've had mine for two and a half years. Stuff like that. Or even buying, even like the boots I have are Blundstones, doing research on that and making sure that they back their product. And I know people who have had Blundstones for 9 years, the same pair of Blundstones, right? Who has a pair of shoes for 9 years? There's not a lot of people nowadays.
Boots, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's the same thing though. High quality leather, well-made stuff. Cheap cowboy boots don't last that long. You pay good money for cowboy boots and they'll last that long. Right? And that translates into everything, right? Did Brendon just leave?
Brendon just dropped.
Sorry, guys. My I had it all webcam through my phone, and I had it plugged in. You know, but somehow the battery still died anyways.
Oh.
Huh.
So,
whatever.
So we just got audio?
Yes. So
Cool.
sorry about that, guys.
Oh, good.
Throwing us off our game. Come on, man.
So minimalism. I mean, I've read the book, The Minimalist. It was actually a really good read. Cool. I found. And they claim that it isn't a fad, but they spent the entire book talking about.
Yeah.
I was just leading with that, but no, they of course claim it isn't a fad, but they also spent the majority of the book talking about something other than living with less than 100 items and living in a tiny house and on and on and on. They were talking about a completely just a different way of thinking. That's really the gist of their story. And quite honestly, to me, it was something that appealed appealed even more so than the less than 100 things.
Yes. Yeah, I think putting a number on like less than 100 things is just kind of a way to visualize it, and maybe it's a rule to follow, but it really is just it's a way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking. It's getting out of that normal, how everybody else is moving through everyday life, and just kind of sitting down and like just thinking about things before you do them. And it may take a little bit extra time to sit down and think about that, but it saves you time and money in the future, right?
To me, the biggest thing I see is that it's very anti-consumerism. Like
yes,
that's very
I
much
love that.
the whole, but that's it through and through. Like every single aspect,
totally.
like having a smaller house, buying less things, this, that, and everything. It's all anti-consumerist, which I think is great, because we've become such a consumerist society that that's all we live for is things and garbage and stuff that gives you zero satisfaction.
Exactly. And I've found like people who live in tiny homes and vans are the most open, friendly, like for lack of a better, like just kind of like beautiful people, you know, like you just click with them. They love other people. It's like
could be a little biased there, bud. But okay.
No, like man, it's true.
I totally understand it. Yeah.
I mean, because people shut themselves. Like we are, as humans, we are social creatures. We're meant to be with other humans, and we're meant to deal with them in 3D, not through a computer screen like we're currently doing. Yeah. But our brains want to communicate with another person in 3D with all our senses, right? Everything's better. The more senses you can engage, the better that experience is. And we've become such a society that we just lock ourselves in our fancy little comfortable homes with our AC and our heat. And it's like this little safe space. And you never, like, it's so hard to get out of that, I find. I don't know. I found that when I rented, it was such like a nice little place to huddle and like hide from the world and just play video games and watch Netflix.
No, and I hear what you're saying, but I also find it kind of ironic because Josh opened up his home to you and you're using. No, it's just kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't ask. He opened it. He was like, "Hey."
No, I didn't. You walked in. You walked in.
Oh yeah, that way. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is you were saying that. Anyway. But no, I agree with you because like I've always been the type that I'd say I'd had like an open door policy, that I'd just be like, oh, anyone can come over whenever they want. And I love that because I love having people around, and I love that because I believe that community is a huge aspect of life and that you should have that interaction. And you're so right, you can just hide away, but it's like, hey, just stop on by. Oh, don't bother asking, just come by, because
exactly,
like you always got time, you know what I mean? And it's just
no, and that's and you're right. It's more of a mindset than like, I'm not saying van lifers and people who live in tiny homes only. Obviously, that's not blanket. It's
yeah, I know what you're
those kind of people exist in those places. They also exist in houses. It completely is a mindset.
No,
right?
but I know what you're saying. It helps create that mindset, and I love that idea, and that's why I was talking about even a couple episodes ago about, you know, having a housing that was a lot more orientated on social behavior and stuff.
Oh yeah, that was such a cool idea, such a rad idea.
And I like that. It's the same when you're traveling, like to stay in hostels.
Yeah, totally.
10 times a better experience, like so much better. You just meet people, you just know people, you're just out there, like it's just fun, right? Like it's totally different.
Now that I have an opportunity to add to your idea of the like community living, in a way, I feel like the market momentum in like new real estate developments is moving sort of in that direction.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's definitely leaning towards a lot more like smaller lots and closer community and like parks more than backyards and, you know, that whole type of thing. Would you agree, Brendon?
There's that in suburbia, of course, and then also like in apartment style livings, like the new style apartments that you see coming in, they have just a pile of shared activities. They have a shared gym, shared playground, shared pool oftentimes, and everything is just exclusive to the people that live in that apartment complex. And that's, I don't know how long that's been a real movement, but I'm guessing
like what are you talking about specifically, like Sky or something like that? Do they do?
No one in specific, but I just know that like any newer developed apartment complex that I've been to, like in a nicer area of town, always seems to have just a pile of shared activity type stuff.
Yeah.
That's all set up just for the
that.
community
like,
of.
It's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I know I stayed in an apartment in Texas when I was like 12 years old for 6 months. And it was that, like, they had a big community pool and all these things, and then we'd go out and play with all the kids in the same community, and it was just fun. Like, it was cool, and you kind of meet your neighbors, and I don't know, I just liked that whole idea, right? And that was in more of a family environment, and what I was talking about was more of a like singles environment, because I just don't think that exists as much, right? Like, the family thing is done so much, but.
I had an idea that eventually I want to get a house with like a walkout basement, but I want to change my walkout basement in big rec room area to like a cafe, coffee shop / bar, and just give a pad code in the back, and so I can have a bunch of friends that can come in anytime and just get coffee or beer after 5 and stuff like that. Because I just
cool, man. But that's exactly what I'm talking
sick.
about. And it has to be that chill. Oh, hey, just drop in, and because
here's the number.
To me, that is the best thing ever. If I walk on my back deck and I don't know who's gonna be there, because I mean, okay, that could come across bad, but it's like if I come out and there's 5 people there, it's like, hey guys, how's it going? Hey, have a beer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so. It's cool,
and then more and more people start showing up because someone else invited somebody else, and because everyone knows it's all right, and text, call this person, and then next thing you know, you have 6 other people showing up. They had no clue we're coming, and it's like sick. It's enjoyable.
Exactly.
But if you have that kind of separation of this is our space, is anyone with my friends, here's a passcode, this is our space. It allows people to come in and out a little bit more when they get more comfortable in your area. But then you also have like upstairs and your
network, opportunity too. Like, the more you interact with people, the better benefits you get from them.
And then instead of interacting with people like, hey, let's go for coffee, and trying to have a serious conversation or intelligent conversation sitting at Tim Hortons isn't as comfortable as saying, hey, I have a coffee shop set up in my backyard, in my basement or something like that. Come on over for dinner, or come on over for coffee. I'll make you a coffee, or after 5, let's make a couple drinks and we can have a little chat.
Yeah. No,
I think that'd be a lot more fun.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what my dad's trying to do in our. My parents don't have a walkout basement in their place, but my dad last year, since basically, I grew up with a family of 7 and like 4 other siblings, and my mom and dad, which is nothing compared to you guys and your big Dutch families. I understand. But now that everyone's kind of leaving and my little brother only has like 1 more year before he's out of the house for good, my dad started setting up the basement with a dartboard, a foosball table, another round table for card games or a bunch of other board games and stuff like that. And he's setting that up and leaving an Xbox in there. Like, my little brother isn't allowed to take it with him or anything like that. He's leaving an Xbox and like a Wii console and games in there and stuff like that. They're trying to set that place up so whenever they have company come over, everyone can go downstairs after and play darts or foosball and stuff like that. So trying to set up that communal area, but
no, that'd be really cool.
Nope. Diggity dum.
You still there, Brendon? It's
Brendon?
hard to tell with.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Never know when you just died.
So getting back to that, what you were saying before, is it just a fad, just like a passing kind of trend? I don't know. I think it's going to evolve eventually, but I don't think the idea of changing the way we think is really a fad. Exactly. Well, and I was just going to say this, like, there are people who will see this kind of stuff on social media, these people living in tiny homes, and they'll see the YouTube videos and the van life and all that stuff, and they'll try it, and they'll back out almost instantly. There's lots of people who do that because it looks cool and it looks trendy, and it's something fun to try, right? And I think you're always going to have that because there will always be things that are hip, like they're kind of like cool to do, but there's going to be the real people who do it every day and kind of live that lifestyle, right? There's going to be fakers and everything. Yeah, like there's going to be people who dabble, right? And they give it a shot and it's just not for them and they go back to how they live. But maybe even it affected the way they now live in their house or whatever, right? I know people like that who have given it a shot and it didn't work out for them. And it doesn't for everybody, right? But I think there will always be those people who are in that mindset, you know?
Well, I don't think it's going to be so much of a fad because it actually works for a lot of people now. The reason why maybe some other fads didn't work in the past is because people kind of realize, like, all right, maybe this isn't the healthiest way to live my life or anything like that, and then they go back to the other routine that everyone else is doing because it's normal. And what is Josh doing right now?
Like with mobile homes, there's a real stigma about it now. Like it's really looked down upon.
Yeah, well, because the problem with mobile homes is once you go over for paying for the lot that you're on, it's cheaper to buy a house on it. It's almost cheaper to buy an actual house. And what are you doing, Josh?
Like I was trying to convince Josh to buy a mobile home. He just laughed at me.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
That thing was a total crack shack. It looked like 10 people had been murdered in there. It was like a mobile home and a lot for like 50 grand. It's like, yeah, that thing's got to be worth a lot.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. A lot of mobile homes are just, in my mind, not worth it. Like, get a condo,
to me,
get a house.
Expensive. Like, to
and they are.
One, it's like 100 grand for a freaking mobile home.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem with mobile homes is, like I said before, they're kind of small and they're cheaply built also. They're not homey. They're not, you don't like to come home to a mobile home. But what I was going to say before about tiny homes is the difference between like a mobile home and a tiny home is obviously the size, right? But when people build a tiny home, they build it themselves and they build it to their lifestyle, right? So if you're a surfer, then you're going to have a section of your house that's devoted to like holding surfboards and wetsuits and how do you dry out your wetsuits and all this stuff, right? If you're a mountain biker, you're going to have racks for your mountain biker, and that goes for rock climbers or hikers or whatever. It's got to be built to your lifestyle. That's the only way a small space works. It has to be tailored to the person currently living in it.
And you can only have one hobby because you couldn't do all three of those things in a tiny house, really.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. There's so many solutions to everything. It gets your brain just rolling with ideas.
But the thing is, like, for tiny homes, it's like you build it to customize your lifestyle. But with a mobile home, basically all it's saying is your lifestyle is I want to live cheaply. I can't afford anything.
Like,
exactly.
I can't afford it. Your lifestyle is I'm desperate to be inside 4 walls and a roof.
Exactly. Like Trailer Park Boys is an accurate representation of people who live in trailer. You know.
I'm gonna raise this little fact.
I'm actually really surprised that not many of these like big mobile home manufacturers are kind of like dabbling into the tiny homes at all because they're so set up to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like most of them are.
Not from what I could tell, because I've looked it up a lot and I haven't seen anything. Like the only people that build tiny homes are like contractors on the side and like people.
There's a place here in Lethbridge that does it, eh? Yeah. Teacup Tiny Homes. You should check them out. They're really cool.
They were at the Home and Garden show.
Yeah. Did you look at it?
Yeah, I walked through it. It was pretty awesome.
Like, I kind of want to check
pretty
out.
Nice, eh?
I have an idea. I wonder if I could put like.
That was the green and black unit, right?
I think so. Yeah. They had a green door, anyways.
Yeah, it's a nice little unit. I liked it.
Kind of want to check out and see.
Did a fantastic job, man. Like storage in the rafters and everything.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like you say, oh, you couldn't have those 3 hobbies in there, but like you'd be amazed at when you put your mind to it, where you can fit all this stuff into all these little nooks and crannies. And there's so much wasted space in regular houses. Like they're honestly like if you get a decent tiny home, you're probably going to have a loft. And what a lot of people do in tiny homes is they have like some steeper stairs going up to that loft. But in those stairs, every single one of those steps is a drawer, right? So they have all that storage in this space that usually there's not a single use for that space, right? And that goes for the space underneath the stairs. You can use that as like a really like divided up kind of like bookshelf kind of idea, right? Like there's a lot of those little places that we just don't use. living in a house, you know?
Mm-hmm. You take like that one design. I think it's the most popular design on the internet right now because I see it everywhere. But basically, they've got a washer and dryer joint unit, or hookup, sorry, for a washer dryer joint unit right inside the stairs. Yeah. And then the if you don't have it, then it just becomes an awesome coat rack area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's
so dual purposes is the big catcher.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And again, that translates right into all other purchases. That's like I keep on saying Blundstones or whatever, but I bought my Blundstones for that reason, because they're comfortable, they're quick to put on, they're long lasting, they're decently stylish. Like you can dress them down, you can kind of dress them up. You know, they have a lot of different uses to them.
Like, do you mean with a Sharpie?
What do you mean?
Like to dress them up?
Like to draw on them, put like a little tuxedo on my Blundstones? Dude, I miss talking to you because your humor's like very similar to mine. Because I like genuinely enjoyed that like a lot. Like they actually
Dave has like the worst humor ever. Like he says stuff that's just blatantly, obviously wrong, and that you know he's saying it just to get a rise out of you. Like he'll be like, dude, like since when are stoplights green? And then he thinks that's hilarious, and I'm just sitting there like, oh man, like what did you do that?
Well, you guys did succeed in taking down his puns on the first episode.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've honestly thought of so many throughout this episode, and I just don't say them because I.
Good. You're only allowed 3 bad ones, right? You gotta be very good.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys just set up a system where, you know, on Dave's 4th pun, he's out, and then
that's what they did. That's what they did.
Set up
first
that
episode.
That we didn't air.
Kind of like how after I cracked my 4th lame joke, I kind of just slid off the screen.
Yeah, that was
weird.
That was
one
was
more.
Just an accident.
Your voice is gone, dude.
Yeah.
We're cut. But hey, I'm kind of looking at this teacup tiny homes. Do you have any idea, like ballpark, what the prices were running on those?
Oh, those would be around 60. No?
Brendon, did you see the price on that? No, I think it was like in the high 30s.
That's it.
That's it.
No,
I thought I remembered seeing some higher numbers, but I could.
Oh, really?
On my rocker.
Yeah, no, there's no way they'd just be 30s. Like you can do it in 30 grand if you're doing it yourself. But you gotta think you're paying someone to do that now.
They definitely have a unit that I looked at that was in the high 30s, like 36, 37.
That might have been one of their smaller ones then.
Yeah,
that's very possible.
Yeah, something tells
large models for tiny homes.
Something tells me it was in the mid 50s at that trim package kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
because it was pretty well equipped.
Yeah,
but these are nice though, like.
Oh, you could probably build a tiny home for like 7 once you get up into like the
really
solar.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and they do amazing work, like high quality work.
I'd live in these like all day long.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful.
The only problem with that is having people over. You need like music because like my sister lives in like a really tiny garage.
How is that an issue?
Just listen. Lives in a really tiny garage, and like if you have someone over and you need to use the washroom, it's so awkward.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
just get a really loud fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a really annoying thing. Or just own it.
You just have a phone. As soon as the bathroom door closes, some loud music.
Or just own it, man.
Too, because otherwise the whole house smells, and that's all.
It's true.
No, Scotty has a point too.
Yeah, just own it. Like when you go to take a piss, just like just scream to everyone in the house.
Scream it at the top of your lungs.
Top of your lungs. Have a little peace song.
Okay, you know what?
They
must have been taking these pictures with like an extremely wide lens because like these pictures make this house look big, and that's hard enough in a normal house, let alone a tiny house.
They actually sell them. It's called the Tiny House Lens Kit.
It's a 1 mil
fisheye because it's like a 360-degree lens. It's like this will make your tiny house look big.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, eh? Like you're selling a tiny home because it's small, but you want it to look big in order to sell.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you guys should Google Neom. Neom.
What is it? I'm not Googling it until you tell me what it is. I've had some really bad experiences.
Okay.
I just get a lot of stuff out of Saudi Arabia.
It's not me. Yeah, it's Saudi Arabia. It's a Saudi Arabian like mega city they want to build. That's supposedly gonna be like
Josh.
the next rival to Dubai or whatever. So.
Neom.
Yeah.
Hey Josh, are you like a little bit stoked for Belize?
Yeah.
Like a little bit?
No.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be all right.
Yeah, it's gonna, whatever, man.
I'm just kind of like counting down every second of every day. I'm so friggin' stoked, dude. Oh.
Yeah,
it's
dude,
like get off work.
I really am.
Oh, and the funniest thing was I told my boss that it was like the 17th, like I'm gone. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, when you get back, you can keep on working for us. I'm like, no, like I'm gone for the entire winter. Like I'm done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't take it too well. Cause they're like animals, man. They just want to keep on going. Sorry, man. If it's -10, I'm not doing shit with landscaping.
Yeah,
no way, dude.
Fair enough.
Nah.
I hear you there.
Yeah, no, Belize is gonna be good. Apparently, we have to lather up in coconut oil. Did you get that note?
No. But
yeah. So the funniest things were these are right beside each other. She said, if you get bitten by a scorpion, chug rum until you can taste it, because your tongue will swell up. You won't be able to taste anything. So just chug a shitload of rum, and then if you get bitten by sandflies, rub coconut oil on yourself. So yeah, Belize is going to be fun.
I just feel like that's some of those worst case scenario things. Like when someone comes here and you're like, oh, get bear spray.
Fair enough.
And they're like, oh, bears are going to maul me. No, like you need bear spray just to walk down the street there?
Man, I'm just looking at these photos you took when we went to Lundbreck Falls, dude.
I thought you were supposed to...
You like them?
Killing it, dude. Yeah, man.
Dave's easily sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry, I was Googling.
I like those like side silhouettes of you with the camera.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, those are dope.
You guys are such pretty people.
You know what I thought was funny? Or now, especially now, I look at these and I'm like, you actually have like some really, really good shots in here. And then the one you post on Instagram is literally the worst photo I've ever seen of myself. Like it looks like I have free candy written on the side of my bed.
You know what?
Straight up.
I saw girls like openly calling you cute on Instagram. And
yeah, so you thought.
I just that. So.
Yes, after
like
shut that down.
They're like, oh look I met this guy. Oh, he's so cute. You should hook me up. Shit like that. I'm just like, whoa. No, Anyway, I saw that.
Wait a minute. What? You had girls texting you?
No. On some picture, I just saw them mentioning you and saying, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't think that was on Instagram. I think that's Facebook.
Yeah, it was on Instagram.
Yeah, there was one photo that got a lot of reaction from female viewers. Just one though. It was a good angle.
Like this.
Yeah, do it. Look at that one.
Yeah, beautiful.
Gold. Absolute gold.
I liked it. That was cute.
I honestly laughed like LOL'd in LOL'd IRL. LOL'd IRL. Like
that's hard. The next face of Hollywood.
ROLF IRL. No?
What word are you trying to spell? No.
On floor laughing.
I know.
Oh, whoops. Anyway, Brendon, did you look that up?
I did. I think I've seen it before. It's if it's anything like I was the thing I was looking at earlier.
They just announced it today. So.
Oh really?
Are you taking a shit? What are you trying to do?
Getting those squats in.
Okay.
Getting them angles. But you've seen something like that before, Brendon?
Yeah, where they were, and it was in Saudi Arabia. They were building a new city development, and this was all still computer images because they hadn't started it yet. But yeah, basically we're 100% self-sufficient food-wise, water, recycling, and like energy-wise, everything was just totally lot of solar panels involved. Mm-hmm. I love that kind of stuff, though.
I love it too, but I don't think they'll actually do it. Mostly because it's Saudi Arabia, and it's like a country built on broken promises. No, I don't know. Like, I just don't see it happening. But
You could probably throw me back in here if you want.
they do have a wicked nice website, though.
That definitely means something right there.
Yeah. They
They had
paid
money to
someone
build a
probably
website?
$200.
Hey man, like that's sort of like probably one of the top websites I've ever seen. Like, there's not a lot of really like great, like it's shit or it's average, and there's not much. Even like really big companies don't stand out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True that. True that.
What's that sound? Can you please make that stop? I said always Josh. Your camera replicates who you are perfectly. Because yours is the only camera that shakes like non-stop. It never stops moving, and like there's always weird sounds, and you got the lava lamp in the background. I mean, it's so you.
Dude, that lava lamp is sick, man.
It's baller, bro.
You know what's
Dude,
sad? I stole it from my younger sister in like a white elephant thing, and she was crying.
Over a lava lamp?
I wanted it so bad. I was like, I want that thing. And she's like, but Josh, I want it so bad. And I'm like, well, dreams were meant to be broken. And I took it, and now I have it. And that's like the second time I turned it on. So.
That's funny, dude. I get it. I get it, man. When I was 13, 14, lava lamps were the shit, man.
Yeah,
I would watch mine for hours.
Like, I always wanted one. And then it just fell in my lap, and I was like, man, you gotta seize the day, right? Take this opportunity that just happened here. And I mean, I brought over a couple.
I never had one.
Not seize other people's possessions.
I never had one. And the day I got one, no, listen to me. I never had one until I was like 14, and I think I was given one for my birthday. And when I plugged it in, and I saw that lava just like heat up and go to the top, that's when I knew I wanted the finer things in life. You know,
like living in a van.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I wanted the nice, comfy things in life, the cool things, that everyone wanted. Like lava lamps.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So speaking of lava lamps, because they're kind of futuristic and whatnot, I was just reading.
You guys know that was a joke, right? You got that?
Yeah, I got that. I was just reading a bit about like Elon Musk.
I always have to apologize for humor.
Some of the stuff he's been talking about.
Right.
And anyway, my question is, do you think that we will have people living on Mars in our lifetimes?
I don't know.
We'll say the next 60 years.
If I live another 60 years, maybe.
Either that or
Elon
Musk goes bankrupt.
Saying it's all or bust, Brendon.
Well, no, my phone just shut off.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say, no.
We'll put bets on this.
No.
Or yes.
Oh, what?
There's like a 50-50
because this will be on the internet.
I feel like Brendon's really, dude. That guy does not flinch. He does not
he's
even
good.
budge, man. That guy is
Look at
It's frozen. It's frozen. Josh did that. The video of it was frozen.
I know.
What's the bad jokes?
What?
The bad jokes start now. We've been holding them out. That's good humor for us.
No,
okay?
You guys didn't notice at the start of the show, I tried to stay still for like 5 minutes, and I did, and no one even commented on it. I didn't. Even
I thought.
An inch.
No, I thought you were
I noticed
really
it, but I was
disinterested in the conversation.
I thought you were just like letting us talk. Just like
houses.
Josh is
and
an
real
opinion
estate
right now. That's awesome. It's peace and quiet. I feel like I can have a conversation.
Because your face is just like dead, and I thought you were so bored by the conversation.
No, it's because I was trying to not move.
No, I thought in your head you were like, well, this isn't where I thought this podcast was going.
Just volume.
No,
What kind of
no,
And like,
no,
it's taking too long, and it's not funny. Like, I was worried.
I was impressed. Like, that just shows Josh's character. Because, guys, I held still for 5 minutes. Where's my reward?
Josh does everything 110% for sure. Everything he does is 110%. Hire him. Buy his cameras.
He can hold still for 5 minutes.
That's impressive for him.
5 minutes, boys. Anyway, so you're gonna go with a no on the living on Mars?
Yeah.
I want to go with a yes just to disagree with you because I think technology is going to be much faster than we all think.
In our lifetime, though,
like
we got maybe 30
a lot
years
faster than everyone thought, but in different directions.
Yeah,
because
totally.
back in the day, everyone was talking about flying cars, all this kind of shit that we still don't have. That I think we easy could if there was the focus there, right? But instead, we've gone to realms that people can't even think of.
Yeah.
And it's just way further than they ever would have thought, but then some things never went near as far as they thought they were going to. So.
I just it might be just a dumb thing for me to say because maybe I'm uneducated on the subject, but I don't see the need for living on Mars for like a long time, like an actual need. Like it will be something that people are like, oh, I want to check out Mars, and like it'll be an interesting thing. But yeah, it'd be kind of like that. Like it'd be kind of cool to check out or something. But I don't think the actual need to live on Mars will arise for a long, long time. Well, not a long time, but not within our lifetime.
No, I hear what you're saying. I think it's a big significance thing, right? Like it's like you know, like get this. Like
you almost have to be pushed
off
of Earth.
Interplanetary, and the idea is, and a lot of it. If you could go on Mars, then hypothetically you could go other places, and then it builds from there, and then and essentially the idea is that you don't have as much problem with wars and stuff because wars have been fought so much over land. That I'm not saying I agree with this.
Yeah, no, I know.
But that's what I've heard said, and I don't think that's like that. Everyone believes that, but I've heard that said is that hey, if we were into space, then there wouldn't be as much conflict because every religion and every little person has their own little, planet or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, no, there's always going to be that guy who's like, no, I want your planet. Like, I'm going to come over there.
The grass is always greener on the other side.
Here's one thing, my kind of theory on this too is, like, space exploration is great, but I think we need to focus on our planet a little more. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that from a tree hugger point of view. I'm saying that from like, let's try understand. Less than 5% of the ocean is explored. Less than 5%.
Yeah, but
we don't even know anything about the freaking water, and we're going out into space. I just think we need to spend more time. I
think both, because there hasn't been hardly any focus on space in the last 20 years until recently.
Fair enough. It wasn't.
It just hasn't been, we could be so much further in that area if it was a focus, right? But it's not because people are too worried about who knows what. Like,
well, the thing is, like the Apollo moon landing was definitely faked. So there's that. It never actually happened, and you guys know that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's a pretty widely known thing, like on Urban Dictionary, and you know it's true if it's on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, no, we talked about this last week, didn't we?
Yeah, and the only reason they haven't made another video is because Buzz Aldrin's dead now, and they can't find a suitable replacement.
I'm pretty sure if they could.
Well, and then they tried Paul Walker.
They could fake Buzz Aldrin.
No, I've actually heard in other places. There's actually a place called, I think it's the Uninspired podcast, where they mentioned something like that.
Oh, really? Oh, I freaking love those guys.
Yeah.
No, they're assholes.
They know that Urban Dictionary is truth.
The depth of those guys' knowledge is, I mean,
I don't know, but it's like they're too cocky. They're too cocky about it, man.
No, just a guy in the blue shirt.
That's a little too precise of the current
You, Jay Scott.
That's.
Well, what do you think, Brendon?
Get out of my...
worn that shirt. No, shit. You got me there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm chasing my wife.
Mars this lifetime?
Yeah, let's hear your take on this.
Oh.
First of all, it depends if you quit smoking or not. But...
What?
Yeah, because that'll make a difference of 15.
Yeah, that makes a difference of 15
Oh,
years.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like I would say probably the only real significant person that's been excited about it or passionate about it is Elon Musk, and it kind of depends on how his other business dealings go. If he goes big or goes bankrupt,
Yeah.
I know that he himself admits that the stock market is hugely overvaluing his companies. So is it just a matter of time?
It's new and exciting, and I think that's why he'll be successful, is because they're overvaluing him. You know what I mean? Like they're overvaluing him for a reason, because all his ideas are really out there and they're really big. But at the end of the day, people want something to get excited about because they're sick of the same old shit. And you know what? He's working on like the solar shingles, the solar wall, which is like really good battery storage. Tesla, then SpaceX, and then he's doing this whole Hyperloop thing too, which is like wicked high speed, like train, like I think like bullet trains.
Oh, wow.
And like linking them together in the States and stuff. So he's working on a lot of like really out there stuff, right?
Massive things.
There's something about that, like, you know, pushing.
Yeah. So my take is, well, if Elon Musk fails, I think the momentum will be lost for a while.
Yeah.
And he is very, very far extended. Like he's working on so many projects at once, and they're all going big, right? So if there ever was an example of too big, too fast, that
Elon Musk is it.
That could probably be it. And the only way that he'll make it is if he keeps the hype that he currently has.
Well, he has to, because it is a big hype train. Because like with Tesla, apparently they haven't made a dime yet, even though they're valued at like
there's no way.
Stupid amounts. Like they're valued so high, but
they charge nothing for their cars, dude.
Yeah.
Every time they come out with a new vehicle, I look at the price and I'm like, how does everyone not drive one?
I just saw a Car and Driver. Insane.
Especially their new SUV, their new little SUV they came out with is mind blowing.
I saw like a Car and Driver head-to-head race with a Tesla drag race. It beat like a Ferrari and a Porsche and like all these other ones in a quarter mile. Like just
well, it's like 1,100. I forget how much. Yeah, because it's instant torque to the ground.
Yeah.
There's no delay. There's no build of power. It's like I think it's 1,100 kilowatts or something to the wheels, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even. That's all just Latin to me. But
I think it's also worth noting that Google and Amazon, neither of them have ever made a dime either.
Really? I was aware with Google, but I didn't know.
Really?
Are you sure with Amazon?
That's what I heard. So I mean, it could be. Could probably be very easily.
I have a hard time believing that because I know a huge part of Amazon is Amazon Web Storage, like AWS. It's all they do data storage. Like they're the biggest data storage provider in the world, and I just don't see how they'd be losing money on.
No, not losing money. They're growing with all of their profits. So the shareholders have never pulled a dividend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I see. That makes sense.
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying.
Well, that makes 100% sense because that's why they can grow so big, right?
Well, you take a company like Amazon. How many cities was it? Like 270 some cities or 280 cities bidding to get Amazon's second headquarters?
Yeah. Did they announce who got that?
No, it's going to take like a good year for them to decide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
But
they got a
was
few
that
different
cool?
offers.
Like I thought that was so insanely interesting. Like there's literally cities like bending over backwards, like pretty much giving them land, giving them whatever, just because of what they'd bring. Like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Calgary thought they had a pretty good chance actually until all the other ones were released, and now it's kind of you can't really compete with $2 billion and $6 billion tax breaks.
Is that who were kind of the ones that were up there? Detroit?
I think Chicago was $2 billion. I don't remember who the $6 billion one was.
Like, so they'd get like $2 billion in tax credit?
Or tax breaks, yeah, either way. But also, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Canada wouldn't be the place they move to, just because it's still a little bit better environment for businesses. Mm-hmm. And so,
what were the contenders like in Canada?
Well, you had like the Toronto, like the multiplex, right? And it they were talking about that if Amazon were to go with them, then they would build like a hyperloop across the city, and you could get from any edge of the city to downtown in like a couple of minutes.
Holy.
That would be. I think that would be sick if it did come into Canada.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope.
It would make Donald Trump really happy, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd just be enthralled.
Yeah.
But no, I do like I just find it so interesting once you get to that level, how much sway you have. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Have you ever seen a company like exercise their size so much?
No, no one's done that. Like, that's why I thought it was so radical, because so many other people could have done that. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, I've never even heard of cities submitting tender packages.
Yeah.
That seems so foreign.
Oh, it's bizarre.
Oh yeah.
It seems opposite.
But it's just absolutely bloody genius, though. Like, you get the best.
Could you imagine having that much confidence in your company? Just walk in there and say, "All right, what are you gonna give me? What are you gonna give me to work here?"
How many cities did it? Like 120?
No, I heard it was in the high 200s.
Yeah, so
but Amazon
200 like good cities to pick from that are all giving you incentives. Like, I'm alive.
Well, there was one city of like 50,000, and they promised to annex a whole bunch of land and name it after Amazon, and the CEO could remain mayor for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like,
what they saying? Make us a city. You could take the city, take it off. It's called City Amazon.
But they are like neck and neck as one of the biggest companies in the world right now.
Amazon is neck and neck with Apple. Because as far as I know,
Google?
Apple is the biggest company in the world.
Yeah, so they're probably still a ways below Apple, but they're pretty close.
What determines the size of a company? Net worth?
Revenue.
Yeah.
Market cap, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same thing, Brendon? Oh. What? Biggest companies in the world. 2016, Walmart. Top. I think I knew that. I should have known that.
Yeah, should have guessed.
Does that mean Walmart? That's 2016. Number 1, Walmart. Wow.
Crazy.
Number 2 is China's power company. Number 3 is China's petroleum company. Number 4 is another Chinese oil giant. Wow. And then
yeah, but you're talking revenue. If you want to search by market cap, then Apple is second, Amazon is sixth.
Okay, what's the difference between revenue and market cap? Sorry,
Well, market cap is like market capacity. It's like the size of the company. Revenue is it's just the sales of the company, but then there's a whole bunch of other things that work into it, right? Like there's the
So is market cap taking?
It says market capitalization.
Yeah, like market cap would be more about the share price, right? Like it's how much value is in the shares of the company.
Of outstanding shares.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you take the price of all your shares, add them up, and that's how you get your market cap.
It's the actual valuation of the company.
Yeah, I was gonna get into like however many times earnings and all that kind of stuff, but I guess shares that kind of just sums it up.
Market,
I just always
like it's just a fancy word for a straight.
I didn't.
It's just a fancy word for like you take all the shares and you times it by by market value. Like market value times how many shares a business has, and that gives you your cap.
Man, so yeah, I guess Apple's number 1. Alphabet here it says is number 2. Alphabet is such a big brother name, hey? I just find it's like Alphabet is they own Google, and
oh really?
I think that's just they're like the parent of Google.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'll just give you a really simple example, Josh. The market cap for Bitcoin is 92 billion, 143 million. So you take the circulating supply of 16,644,000 times the price per Bitcoin, 5,535 US, and that creates your market cap. So that's how these companies are valued.
Okay, so these companies, even though they have a way lower revenue than these massive oil companies, they're valued way higher because there's that much money in shares, and that's what the share value is.
Because the market decides. Yeah.
A little bit more, you know.
So hypothetically, they're not the biggest company in the world.
Just worth the most.
Yeah, but I find that crazy that Walmart is the biggest in revenue.
It's pretty sad.
Well, not
Makes
really.
sense.
Like,
Makes sense.
I don't know why you say Walmart's sad, because I'm actually a big fan of Walmart. Like,
for a single guy, it's great.
The biggest reason that company became so popular is because he tried to get it as cheap as possible for the people, and he did.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
no, I know, and
like one of the cheapest places to shop, and if it wasn't for that, you'd be paying through the roof for stuff. Right?
Oh no.
Yeah, you'd have to shop at Costco.
No. I shop at Walmart. That's not what I'm saying. I don't like that I shop at Walmart, but I do because it just is the cheapest prices.
Sometimes Dave even lives at Walmart.
Sometimes I do. Yes, that is very true. I have nothing. I don't know. Like I'm on the fence about it because it's also very consumerist. Like it pushes that because everything's so cheap. I don't know, and everything's packaged, and none of it's like it is all just the cheapest stuff. And I know that's good, but I don't know. Like I'm just on the fence, you know. Like they seem to put such little thought to the products they have, whereas a place like Safeway.
Employees and everything like that, and I get
that
but
too.
At the same time, like it's pretty insane. Like Sam Walton, in his book, he says like that's why he started is because he wanted to get the cheapest prices for people, and it was completely like selfless reasons. Like he didn't really care about being some big rich and famous guy, but now that is the biggest company in the world by revenue.
Maybe that's why he's so big.
That is why he's so big.
That's exactly why.
100% why, and that's why I guess I don't have as much of a problem with it because it's like, wow, that is pretty impressive that we can actually get this stuff for these prices. Because like, man alive, like, you know, the difference
It's true.
there. But it's pretty crazy because now his kids are like the richest people in the world. I think 4 of the top 15 have the last name Walton.
Wow.
Holy crap. It's crazy.
You kind of have to be. You know, like those are some pretty big shoes to fill. Tough act to follow.
It's not about being shoes to fill. It's about getting a huge inheritance, and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't think they've done too crazy much. But anyway, you guys want to call it a show? It's getting...
Yeah, sure.
Call it a night. It's starting to get a little bit late there, bud.
Yeah, you betcha.
Probably been a decently long episode.
Super.
All right, let's sign it out.